Welcome back to Earstravagent Adventures. I'm your host, Rachael, here to whisk you away on another thrilling journey through the magical realms of Disney, Universal, and beyond. This week, I'm here to help my fellow motion sickness sufferers to have a better trip to the theme parks. And I did say theme parks, so we're going to be talking about Universal and Disney today, so you can be fully prepared to have an amazing trip. But first, thank you to our sponsor, Alonzi Travel, the ultimate family theme park experts. Planning theme park trips can be overwhelming, but Alonzi Travel is here to make it stress-free. With their years of experience, they're your fast pass to hassle-free travel. They handle all the details, allowing you to focus on having fun with your loved ones. Whether you dream of Hogwarts, Disneyland, or Walt Disney World, they've got it covered, tailoring the trip to your family's needs. Visit alonzi-travel.com/take the trip for a magical adventure. Now, let's dive into motion sickness. I'm going to have to cover motion sickness for cruising on a different video because there's a lot there. But I get asked a lot about the theme parks, what rides people can do, things like that for motion sickness. And I understand, like, lots of people have motion sickness in different forms. I have it a lot. So mine comes from the big drops from roller coasters, spinning elements for sure, and vertigo. So I've got a little bit of everything. And I have found some ways to get around motion sickness so I can ride most things. We'll get into the details of all the rides in a minute, but first, the most important is, how do I deal with my motion sickness? The biggest game changer I have, and this is not sponsored, I wish it was. I've asked them to sponsor me, actually, and I never heard back. So the biggest help for me is my relief band. So this, and for those of you who are listening to the podcast, I'm just showing what the relief band looks like. This one, I've had it for a very long time. There's supposed to be a little thing here. It's since fallen off, but on the back of it are these metal plates, and you use this conductor gel. And what you do is you take a scotch of this gel, and you put it on your wrist, and as high up as you comfortably can put it, get it all on there. And there's two veins that run down the middle of your wrist. You want it right on that. And then you put the relief band as high up as you can, super tight, because what it's going to do is send electro pulses through your body. It sounds horrible, but that's what it does. So you want to pull it like super tight, like tighter than you want to do it. So there's like no real space in there. And I always test mine. So I'll turn it on, and there's 3 levels. I don't think I've ever used one, but I put it on 2 or 3. I don't have any gel on, so I can't feel it. But you can see from the indicator lights what level it's on, and then you just hold it down to turn it off. But I always test it before I get on the ride, so I know it's in the right spot, because if you can't feel it, then you need to move it around or add some extra gel. But that's the relief band. And this one is their ugly one. It's the cheapest one they have, because I didn't know if I wanted it would work or not. So I got the cheapest one they had. I've had this for, at least 7 years. And I just replaced the batteries. So there's a little battery, the flat circle batteries. That's what powers these things. And I've replaced it one time. It's seen better days, but it still works perfectly fine. And it helps me mostly. I will say, when we go through the list of rides, there are a couple that I still just can't ride at all. But for a lot of the rides, especially being on an airplane, it's really, really helpful. It doesn't 100% take away the ick feeling, especially like if it's a really, really strong turbulent plane or really intense roller coaster. Like, it doesn't fully take it away, but it definitely helps not want to like throw my guts up. And it's better on me Then Dramamine. Dramamine is another tool for success. So if you don't want to spend the money on this, and I think it was like $200, and I get that's a lot of money. I told you how long it lasts though. So I've already had this for at least 7 years. $200 for that long, I feel like it's a really great investment. How often I fly, how often I cruise, how often I go to theme parks, definitely worth it. And I use it I wear it on every single flight I go on. I have it on all my cruises. Like this is, cannot leave the house without kind of thing. I used to always use Dramamine on flights, but Dramamine, as my Dramamine takers know, does make you tired. Even when you take the non-drowsy one, it does make you tired. And I found that it still didn't work as well as I wanted it to. So, and it made me tired. So I tried the relief band and it worked better. But if you don't want to spend that money, the relief band the Dramamine is helpful, but it has lingering effects that I don't love, that are not ideal. I will take Dramamine on long haul flights though, because it helps me go to sleep. I'll also have my relief band on. So like lots of things, but Dramamine I really only use in kind of worst case scenario, just because of the effects that it has on your body. I've personally never tried this, but you can also use ginger gum. Ginger gum is specifically to help with nausea and upset stomach. I don't think that's would help me with my motion sickness for like roller coasters and things, but for nausea, I've heard it helps. I have not used it myself, so I can't speak to that fully, but a lot of people recommend it. So obviously, my biggest recommendation is the relief band. If you have a lot of issues with roller coasters or flights, bite the bullet. I'll put a link in the show notes. And if you want to grab it, grab it. I wish I had a promo code for you. I don't. They have sales on Black Friday. We are not even close to Black Friday yet, but they do have sales. So the relief band is my secret sauce for being able to ride a lot of these rides, because some of these rides, like I will not go on without my relief band, period. Let's dive into the rides. So there are less than you think that you can't ride at Disney parks. So Disney parks at Walt Disney World, we'll start with Walt Disney World. That was so fast. And start with Magic Kingdom. So at Magic Kingdom, and like I said, everybody's motion sickness manifests differently. So some of these are on here not because I have an issue with them, but because I know a lot of people's motion sickness manifests with 3D elements. And I'll make sure to note that so you know which ones are 3D and not. So at Magic Kingdom, teacups, because they spin. Side note with the teacups, if you do want to try it, and that middle, the center, there's a circle in the center of the teacup that you use to propel your motion. Now, the teacup is still going to spin, but if you want to ride the teacups to experience it, but don't want to spin, you can try your best to hold the center silver wheel still. So your teacup is moving within the track, but it's not spinning in addition to the spinning of the track. And I found that if I really want to ride the teacups, that's what I'll do. I still don't like it, but it helps a whole lot to avoid the Disney sensation. Tron actually triggered my motion sickness. The first time I rode it, I wore my relief band and I was totally fine. The second time I did not. And this one, it triggers it because of how fast it takes off. So the acceleration there, that's what triggers it for me. I'll ride Tron with my motion sickness band or with my relief band from now on if I want to ride it. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Space Mountain, and Big Thunder Mountain, they don't anymore trigger my motion sickness, but for those of you that have issues with drops, all three of those do have drops, with Seven Dwarfs Mine Train having the most aggressive of the drops. I don't wear my motion relief band on these. I'm totally fine on these, but if that's a concern for you, those are the three. And then I don't see many people having this issue, but Mickey's PhilharMagic, it does have 3D elements in it. So the whole show is 3D. If 3D is a trigger for you, then Mickey's PhilharMagic may not be a show that you want to go to. That's it at Magic Kingdom. Epcot has even less. Epcot, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which is so sad. But this one, it doesn't take off super fast. It doesn't have any crazy drops, but it does spin and go backwards. Backwards motion is a trigger for me. I don't do well with backwards motion. And it also it spins while you go down like a drain. That's the best I can describe it. So spinning plus going backwards, I can't psych myself up to do this. Even with a relief band, this one unfortunately is a no for me. Also, mission space is a no for me. This one simulates G-force gravity. So it does exactly what motion sickness is, basically, the definition of it. That's this ride. So I have never been on it. Lots of people have issues with this ride, not even motion sickness sufferers. So this one, green or orange, because there's 2 levels, I would just steer clear of. 2 that are have 3D elements. Soarin', I don't have issues with this one, but you are suspended in the air, and it is 3D elements. So this one may not be for you if you have issues with those things. And then remedies, but I think remedies is going to soon come off the list because I've heard that the 3D element of remedies has been removed. And if that's the case, then this ride is going to be totally fine. That news just came out a couple days ago. I haven't been to Epcot to test this, to verify this myself, but that's what I've heard. If that's the case, this ride should be totally fine. That's it for Epcot. So everything else at Epcot should be totally fine. At Hollywood Studios, lots of things here. Rock and roller coaster, because of how fast it goes, because if it goes upside down, it's a real roller coaster. Star Tours has heavy 3D elements, and I have almost gotten physically sick on this one before. So Star Tours is a hard no for me. Tower of Terror it's just drops. So if you're fine with drops, this will be fine for you, but drops is one of my triggers. Alien swirling saucers, just like teacups. This isn't a crazy ride or anything, but it does spin. So if spinning elements are your problem for you, this is a no. Smuggler's Run actually was kind of a trigger for me because you're inside of like a video game. It's kind of 3D elements, but if you have bad pilots, then it can trigger your motion sickness. It's not like it's crazy drops, but if you're watching the screen, then you can feel, it's like you're in an airplane kind of without the pressure and stuff. So this one's really hard to describe, but when I was a gunner and we had some really bad pilots, sorry, kids don't usually make good pilots. I couldn't watch the screen because it was making me feel motion sickness. So if you're the pilot, or if your pilot is a good driver, you should be fine, but just beware for Smuggler's Run. And then Toy Story Midway Mania, only put this on here because it has 3D elements. You are stationary though, so I think this one, the 3D elements, you won't have an issue with. I haven't heard anyone having issues with this one, but I did say I would tell you if there's 3D elements. So Toy Story Midway Mania does have that. And so does Muppet 3D. Obviously, because it's called Muppet 3D. I didn't put that one on here because I forget that ride even exists, but Muppet 3D. And then Animal Kingdom, the only 2 I think will cause issues. Expedition Everest, it goes backwards and has a huge drop. So those 2 things, if they're a trigger for you. And then Flight of Passage has 3D elements in it. So if that's a trigger, Flight of Passage. Also, It's Tough to Be a Bug, but It's Tough to Be a Bug is about to be redone. So it's kind of not even worth mentioning, but I will in passing. It's Tough to Be a Bug has 3D elements as well. That's all for Walt Disney World. Now over at Disneyland has less parks, so there's less rides that are going to trigger your motion sickness. At Disneyland Park itself, it also has Teacups. It also has Star Wars. It also has Space Mountain. It also has Big Thunder Mountain. So the triggers that I said for Walt Disney World are going to be the exact same for Disneyland because the rides are pretty much exactly the same. 2 rides to note. The Nemo submarines, it doesn't necessarily trigger your motion sickness, but if you have claustrophobia, that might, because you are in a submarine underwater. You're only underwater like 5 feet. You're not super far underwater. But if you have claustrophobia, this is probably not a ride you want to be on. Matterhorn, I don't hear people saying it's motion sickness. What I hear people saying is it throws out their back. It is a really jerky ride. There are not huge drops at all. It's a drop less than Pirates of the Caribbean, to be honest with you. So this ride, I put it on here because it is a thrill ride, and I'm using air quotes. It's a thrill ride, but more so if you have a bad back, it's probably not a good idea than motion sickness. Now, over at California Adventure, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout is Tower of Terror. So exact same there. It's just the drop element. If you're fine with a drop element, you'll be fine with this ride. Incredicoaster goes upside down and has a very fast takeoff. So 2 things that trigger me. So I can't do that. One that surprised me for my motion sickness was Golden Zephyr. So Golden Zephyr, it is just these silver tubes that go around in a circle. That is all they do. But because it is so high up, it triggers my vertigo, which I should mention also Astro Orbiter in Disneyland and Magic Kingdom. I don't ride those either because of vertigo. They're too high up for me. So that one was a weird one, and I wasn't expecting it, and I had to close my eyes and wait to get off. So Golden Zephyr for those vertigo issues, which I should also mention, Dumbo and Flying Carpets. Those you can actually control how high you go. So if you have vertigo, if you just keep Dumbo on the low setting, you should be fine. That one shouldn't upset you unless you have like extreme vertigo, then maybe don't mess with that. The Golden Zephyr was a weird one. And then again, Soarin' is at California Adventure. So Soarin' with the 3D elements, and Toy Story Midway Mania is also at California Adventure, and again, 3D elements. But that's it. Everything else should be fine. So there's over, my gosh, I think there's over 30 rides at Magic Kingdom, over 30 rides at Disneyland. And I only told you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that might trigger motion sickness. And that's not to mention all the entertainment, all the characters. There's plenty to do. So Disney, in my opinion, is the easiest parks to go to if you have motion sickness. It's very, very easy to still have a great time with lots of things to do if that's an issue for you. Now, Hollywood Studios is the biggest exception of that for me because most of the rides are on the list of things I can't do. So just add fuel to the fire of why you guys know I don't love Hollywood Studios. Just because of motion sickness element, I can't do most of the things. But lots of rides you can do. Now, Universal Orlando. The problem with Universal Orlando is most of their rides use 4D and 3D elements. They also have higher intensity roller coasters. So there's going to be a lot more here that is going to trigger you. And I will say the 4D ones, they can. And when I go through the list, we'll talk about them. But there's less I can do at Universal than I would like, more than I thought. So that was a nice surprise. But some of these that I went on, I will probably not do again just because they did trigger me. They triggered me. At Islands of Adventure, the Hulk, because it's a giant roller coaster. It's a big roller coaster, many upside down elements, super fast takeoff. Intensity is really high. Storm Force Acceleration. Dr. Doom's Fearfall. Dr. Doom's Fearfall is the scary carnival ride where you go really high up and you drop down and then it pulls you back up. It's like Tower of Terror, but way more intense. Spider-Man has 3D elements. I was okay with these 3D elements. It's going to be like Web Slingers. Web Slingers, at California Adventure, I totally forgot about Web Slingers. California Adventure, Web Slingers does have 3D elements, but you're, again, like Toy Story Midway Mania, you're stationary. So I don't feel that is going to be a huge issue for you. Same with The Amazing Spider-Man at Islands of Adventure. That one, it's kind of a similar ride. That one did not, I'm thinking. It's a Scotch did, but I think it was also me nervous because I'd never been on the ride before and I didn't know what would happen. So there's that, but it does have 3D elements. Reign of Kong has 4D elements. This one is also, the problem with this one for my motion sickness people is you are in like a van and there's screens on both sides of you. So you're facing forward and there's nothing really in front of you. There's giant IMAX screens on either side. So you're looking left to right to left to right. Plus it's 4D. So this twisting head motion gives me motion sickness. Funny story. My first job, I worked as a checker at Kroger, and I was really, really fast, but I would do this all day. And a couple times I almost made myself sick because I was going so fast, and the back and forth was just like messing with me. And I would have to take Dramamine before work. So, oh man, I think my mom even had to pick me up a couple times because I didn't take Dramamine, and I was like, "This is crazy. Why is this happening?" I was checking things out too fast, and it was giving me motion sickness. So fun times for poor 15-year-old Rachel. Anyways, so that motion with Reign of Kong mixed with the 40 elements can be no bueno at all. Velocicoaster is another one that goes upside down. It twists. It goes super, super fast. So this one is an intense roller coaster. And then this next one makes me so sad to tell you. Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. I have almost gotten sick on this one many times with the relief band. The problem with this one is it goes between regular elements and 4D elements. So you're going between screens and real things. In addition to that, you're suspended. So you're seated, but you're in this like ride car, and the ride car, your legs dangle, pitches you forward, pitches you back, side to side. So like the movement is all crazy, and the ride breaks down a lot. The last time we did it, our ride broke down in a spot where you're basically upside down, and no real warning when it started again, and it just flings you forward. So you go from upside down to flung forward. I did almost throw up. So that's something to be mindful of, which is a real bummer because that ride is amazing, but there's a lot of things within it that can trigger your motion sickness. And last at Islands of Adventure is Hagrid's. This one, it's a really cool ride, but it does have, I can do this one with my motion sickness band when my head is in the right space, but it does have bigger, not as big as Velocicoaster, but it does have drops, and it does go fast. So those are at Islands of Adventure. Over at Universal Studios, it's most of the things that are going to trigger motion sickness. Despicable Me, Minion Mayhem, because of the 40 elements. You don't move, but this one does have 40 elements, and you're like racing through things, so that could trigger you. Rip Ride Rocket, because of the crazy drops and stuff. Another intense roller coaster. Transformers has the 3D elements. So again, this one I think you'd be okay with, but if 3D is the problem, don't ride it. Jimmy Fallon's Race Through New York has 4D elements, and this one you are racing. So if anyone back in the day watched the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol in 3D in the movie theaters, it's like that. I had to take my glasses off for that movie because I was getting sick in the movie theater. But you're in a car and you're like going down tunnels and stuff, and it's a really cool ride. But if 40 elements mess you up, it's probably not for you. Revenge of the Mummy, because it's fast. Fast and the Furious has 40 elements. Fun, not so fun fact, Fast and the Furious is the exact same ride as Reign of Kong. The ride vehicle, the screens, everything about it is the same. What's different is this one is Fast and the Furious themed, and the other one is King Kong themed. So if you can't ride Reign of Kong, you can't ride Fast and the Furious. Same thing. Escape from Gringotts has 4D elements and drops. So this one is another hybrid like Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. It's a roller coaster, but it also has 4D elements. So the roller coaster isn't as intense, but if the 4D bothers you, this one is going to be a no. Men in Black is only on here because at the end, there is an intense spin, and I wasn't prepared for it. It was worse than the teacups. I thought it was never going to end, but when it was done, it was fine. So the whole ride up until the spinning part was fine. I would probably ride it again, to be honest with you. But there is a spinning element in there. The Simpsons 3D is bad. I did almost throw up on this ride too. And my husband did too. And my husband gets like no motion sickness. So that should tell you how rough that ride was. And it's not a roller coaster. It is like a 3D ride, but no. And then twirl a hurl, obviously. Like, don't go on a ride that literally says hurl in the name. Just don't do it. As you can see, a lot more rides at Universal Orlando than Disney that you can't ride, which is something to take into consideration when you're wanting to go to Universal Orlando. It's why I don't go to Universal Orlando as much. I love Harry Potter. I love going to those lands, but it's a lot of money to spend when I can't do many of the rides and have a great day. Just something to keep in mind and help. And definitely, talk with the Alonzi travel team about your motion sickness issues so we can help figure out what would be a best fit for you. Because if you want to do a split, maybe just one day at Universal would be fine for you if you're especially if you're a big Harry Potter fan, or, just work and make sure that you're going to get the most bang for your buck, because vacations are not cheap. And I want to make sure you have the best time, which is why I wanted to do this guide, because lots of people ask me about motion sickness. It's a top 5 question that I get asked for sure. So I wanted to make sure I did a thorough job of that for you. Now, options if you don't want to ride the ride and your family does. One thing I do love about Universal Orlando is they have family rooms, and the family rooms are like pretty much right at the ride entrance. So, for example, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, when you're going to get on the ride vehicle, you go to the right. To go to the family room, you go to the left, and you can wait with your party the entire time. And when they go to get on the ride, you just go to the family room. You wait for as long as they're on the ride, and then they exit right by the family room. So you're in the air conditioned, there's benches, there's usually water fountains. So you can sit while that person goes on the ride. That's unique to Universal. So at Disney, you can be the nice person and hold everybody's bags. You can go grab everybody's snack. You can sit down. I cannot tell you how nice it is actually for them to be like, oh, we're going to go ride Expedition Everest. Okay, I'm going to go sit in the shade for 5 minutes, 10 minutes while you're waiting in line. I'm going to go sit and rest my feet. So it's like a secret weapon actually to get your rest, because they're going to be staying in line. I'm going to go sit down. I'm not going to stand and wait as well. I'm going to go sit down. You could also ride something else. At Walt Disney World or Disneyland, Genie Plus, you do not have to select the same thing for every person. If they're using Genie Plus for Expedition Everest and you're like, well, shoot, I want to go use Genie Plus and go, I said Expedition Everest, go ride Dinosaur. They don't want to ride Dinosaur. I'm going to go ride Dinosaur. Or, oh, I can use my Genie Plus to go meet Mickey and Minnie while they're riding Expedition Everest because they don't want to meet Mickey and Minnie. So I'm going to go do this. You can do different things with Genie Plus if that's what you want to do. I always sit and wait just because it is nice to get off your feet and have that time. But, you can do whatever you want to do, but just know you can do that. So those are some of your options for if your family, because I travel with people all the time that like to do rides that I don't. I'm never going to tell somebody, no, don't ride that ride. If they're fine doing it without me, then I will wait for you. I will happily wait for you. I will go to the bathroom, get a churro, sit down. No issues. I am totally fine to have 5 minutes of peace and quiet. And then they can go do the rides that they want to do. But definitely have a game plan going in so that way you know if that's what you want to do or not. And now you kind of know what rides may or may not work for you. But definitely talk with your travel agent more and talk about your specific motion sickness triggers so we can better help you. Because this list is really long, but 3D elements aren't a problem for me. So a lot of these rides I will do. The only ones that I won't do, and I'll go through that again just one more time. I won't do Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind in Epcot, Mission Space in Epcot. In Hollywood Studios, I won't do Rock and Roller Coaster, Star Tours, Tower of Terror. In Disneyland, I won't do Star Tours. California Adventure, I won't do Mission Breakout, Incredicoaster, or Golden Zephyr. And Universal, most of the ones I told you I won't do. Just maybe it's easier if I say the ones I will do. Hagrid's, Despicable Me, Race Through New York, Escape from Gringotts, Men in Black. But some of the other ones I won't do because I don't like them. But the point is, there is a lot of things that I will do. So it's just kind of specific to what your triggers are and what your motion sickness is. But again, try the relief band, because a lot of these rides I won't do without the relief band. Expedition Everest being a great example of that. But it's super helpful, a super helpful tool that I have found to make it easier for me to have fun and enjoy the theme parks and not be tired from Dramamine and things like that. But to talk more about that, hit up our Alonzi travel team. They are super excited to work with you and help you figure out what is the best game plan for you and your family, whether it's at Universal, whether it's Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Mono Cruise, whatever you want to do. They are so excited to help you. And thank you so much for tuning into this episode about motion sickness. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please drop them in the comments, send us a message, whatever. We are here to help, and we can't wait to chat with you again soon.